What's going on YouTube? John here, Bart's Bastin, making a video for you. Sorry, it's crazy. I'm walking to the pond, and so I'm probably sure you can guess what this video is going to be about. It's going to be about pond fishing. You know, there's a lot of videos out there on pond fishing, and I just feel like they don't give out all the information you need. So I'm gonna try to combine all those great fishing videos into one. All right. We're gonna be going over, you know, how to fish, how to fish a pond. Like, it's more than just throwing a hook out there if you want to have a good successful day. And we're gonna go over, you know, baits I would use, equipment, stuff like that. Now it's over 100 degrees out here, so we're going to those baits in the house and whatnot. But we're gonna see out here is fishing it, see if we can't catch some fish, and then we'll go inside, go over what baits I would use and whatnot, gear, and yeah. So let's get into it. All right, one of the first things when you get up to that pond, one of the first things that you should want to do is when you're approaching the pond, approach it slowly. All right, because a lot of times these bass, they're hanging out where on that drop off where it comes up to the shore. All right, and they can feel the vibration in the water. So, you know, walk up slowly and, you know, kind of check the pond out where you want to go and whatnot. So that's the biggest thing, is don't be loud. You know, make sure your keys aren't jangling around and all that stuff, and just be quiet when you first start fishing. That's one of the first things. All right, so I'm gonna get set up here and then we're gonna get into it. All right, so one of the first things that I like to do when I approach a pond is I check it out. I see what I'm fishing, you know, what I'm fishing. You know, it could be a random pond that day, so I check it out. And right now I'm in a little part that funnels into a creek. All right, that's gonna do a couple things. It's basically a highway for bait fish. So basically what you got here is, I don't know if you can see this, but you got this creek right here, and then there's a little pool comes up, and there's a big drop off right there. All right, so these bass, they're gonna sit on that drop off, and they're gonna wait for these bait fish to swim by, and they're gonna take them. All right, so this is a pretty good spot. Also, I can fish two banks. I can fish a bank over here and this bank right here, just standing in one spot. That's another effective way. The first thing that I like to do when I go out there is fish parallel. All right, there's a YouTube video out there about bank fishing that's really good by Informative Fisherman. He talks about fishing it in layers, and it makes a lot of sense. So I'm not gonna get too much into detail. If you want to check it out, look up Informative Fisherman, and he's got a really good video on it. But the first thing I do is I throw a moving bait parallel with the banks, throwing as close in as I can and moving my way out. You know, you're gonna see that here in a minute. And then from there, you know, I may move, I may switch up a bait, and depending on the days, you know, I may start with a frog, you know, depending on what day it is or time of the day it is. But I'm gonna fish for a little bit, talk a little bit, and see what happens. All right, so what I'm gonna start off doing, I got chatterbait here, great pond bait. It can imitate, I can imitate so much different stuff. Spinnerbait, jig. I'm just gonna fish this parallel on the banks here. So I'll throw it out there, just fish it. We're gonna see what's along that ledge that starts to drop down to the pond. You know, in the summertime, this time of year, these ponds have a lot of algae. You know, most of the grass that's gonna be in there is already, you know, fully bloomed. So chatterbaits work real well coming through that submerged vegetation that's down there. Now, yes, I have a white chatterbait and a blue trailer, but I thought I brought my swim baits out here, and I didn't. Yeah, you know, a chatterbait, another reason why it works so good in ponds is because it does such a good job of imitating bluegill. A lot of panfish that's in there, crappie and bluegill and perch. So, you know, ponds are loaded with those kind of fish. So especially right now, we just had a bluegill spawn And a lot of times the bass are gonna be feeding on those bluegill. All right, so we got some fish jumping over here. I'm gonna throw a wacky worm, which for those of y'all who never fished a wacky worm in a pond is probably one of the most effective pond baits you could throw. I don't know what it is about them in ponds, but there's absolutely a killer in ponds. So basically what we got going on here, we got a little break up in the shore here with this bush. So I'm kind of throwing around everywhere around the bush and see if there ain't any bass hiding under there. And see what happens. See, right there, even if it's little, the Senko always produces. Senko always produces right there. There he is. There he is. Ah, it's just a little one. There goes him. There he is. Not too big. You know, that's not a bad one for this pond. This pond is very new. You know, it's just a few years old. This neighborhood, very new neighborhood. You know, I've been putting fish in here, you know, as much as I can. It's definitely not to the point where I need to be calling any fish, but you know, it's like I said, it's a fun pond to go out. The kids really enjoy it, and you know, like an instance like I have now, where the boat's broken down. All I gotta do is walk out to my backyard. Well, definitely a tough day. You know, I think these bass are deep. You know, there's little ones up along the bank there, but for the most part, I think they're pretty deep. And what sucks about ponds is, I mean, you can throw a square bill. I'll throw a square bill in a pond all day, but to throw a deep diving crankbait out there, it's kind of rough. You know, this pond has real muck bottom. You know, so throwing a crankbait is not ideal. Some ponds you can definitely get away with finesse fishing in terms of a, you know, shaky head. Texas rigs are always good, but you know, I stick with 3 baits most of the time, and that's a Senko, some sort of topwater, whether it's a frog, a buzzbait, popper, and a chatterbait. Chatterbait, spinnerbait is really where I'm sticking with. You know, try to keep it small. You know, you'll have a better day if you have a smaller profile bait. You know, you'll get more fish. They may not be huge ones, but you'll get more. So, you know, stick with I'd stick with, you know, a small, you know, 1/4 ounce. I want to go over 3/8 ounce spinnerbait. You know, depending on water clarity, is it going to be depending on what colors you're throwing, obviously. But early morning, if there's some grass that is that's up out of the water, you know, some lily pads, definitely throwing a frog. And then after that, I'm throwing either a Senko or a chatterbait, trying to find them. And like I said, you want to parallel. So you parallel the bank, each bank starting off. And then from there, that's when you start, if you ain't getting hit, that's when you need to start searching. So let's bring it inside, and I'm gonna go over the baits that I would use and wrap this video up. All right. So we're off the water, and we going over the baits that I would use on pond. Like I said, it's way too hot out there to go over it. So I'm inside. Let's go and do it. All right. So I'm gonna be going over a broad spectrum of baits. Just remember to keep it simple. A lot of times you're fishing from the bank, so you either have some sort of tackle bag or book bag. You know, that you get a regular book bag works just fine, but you can also get a tackle bag book bag that are real popular right now. Tackle Warehouse makes a really good one. I think Shimano makes one. A bunch of different brands make them, and they're really awesome. You can fit tackle boxes in there with compartments for line or pliers, stuff like that. So I would definitely recommend those. You know, you're on the move a lot, so you don't have a lot of room to store stuff. So keep that in mind. You know, your soft plastics, keep them all in a bag so you can stuff them in there. Keep 3 or 4 Plano boxes and put it all in there, and, you know, that should pretty much cover it. But, so I'm going over a lot of baits, so you may not bring all of these with you, or you may bring all of them, only one of them. You know, you're not going to bring 7 different colors of craws of the same craw, or 6 different of the same frogs. You know, you're going to bring a couple, pick them out of your boxes, whatever it may be. So just keep that in mind as I enter into all these baits. First thing, rods. I would bring 2 rods, maybe 3. But, you know, for the most part, I would stick with 2. I would stick with a spinning rod and a medium heavy would be the 2 that I would lean towards. Spinning for your finesse fishing, your wacky rigs, shaky head, stuff like that. And then a medium heavy kind of covers a broad spectrum between, you know, you can throw cranks on a medium heavy all the way up to swim jig, chatterbaits, spinner baits. And then the 3rd rod would be a heavy rod, and that would be if you want to throw top water, whether it's frogs, buzzbait, stuff like that. All right, so with that being said, let's get into the baits. All right, so first thing in the morning, throwing top water. You know, some of the baits that I would throw would be this bait right here. I've started to fall in love with. It's the live target sunfish. Like I said, sunfish are huge on ponds, and this right here is a perfect imitation of a dying sunfish. You throw this along the bank, twitch it around. You know, it's a real killer in the pond. So this is a live target sunfish. And then you got your frogs right here. This right here is a popper. It's a spro, popping frog. Great frog, but between this one and a regular one, you know, if there's a lot of slop, I'd stick with the regular frog right here. And then if you know, if it's kind of open around the lily pads, you could throw the popper. So also a good frog to throw would be, you could throw a soft belly frog. You know, this is a striking rage toad, but this, you know, it kicks up a lot of water, leaves a bubble trail. You can throw it, you know, through slop, through lily pads, open water. Acts kind of like a buzzbait. So you also throw this, a soft plastic toad. Then also, you know, you got your buzzbait, which you saw in the video. You know, buzzbait works good in a pond too. This is a Hayden's buzzbait. I got a Power Team Lures grub on here. It's a great pond bait. Like I said, top water. They all do the same thing for the most part. They all catch fish, and that's the main goal. All right, so I'm pretty sure that covers all top water. Let's get into the moving baits. All right. Chatterbaits. I love throwing chatterbaits. You know, the Z-Man makes a great chatterbait here. Depending on the water clarity, is going to be depending on the color, like I said. If you're fishing a clear water pond, just kind of stick with the shad colors. You know, this is a little white with chartreuse in it. This is all chartreuse and green. You know, they have black and blue for darker waters. You know, the chartreuse is going to stick with darker water. Shad colors, you know, white or pearl with some silver flake in it. You know, those are shad colors. And then obviously you want to pair that up with a trailer. Some of the trailers I throw on the back of my chatterbaits. 99% of the time I'm throwing a paddle tail swim bait on there, but I'll also throw I'll put a craw on there. You know, a rage craw works really good. A Yum Christie craw, I think those work really good. But some of my favorites here, the Lake Fork tackle. I can't remember the name of it, but you know, it's jointed. It's just got great action in the water. This would be, and for colors, stick with shad or bluegill perch colors. I wouldn't stray away from that too much. You know, darker water, you can throw a chartreuse color tail, but for the most part, I'm sticking with that, you know, forage that's in the water. So like I said, this is a live target. I think this is a perch. I think is the net color of it. Or this is another live target. This is a bigger one, a shad color. You know, there's bigger bass in there. You could throw that. The only thing that sucks with the Lake Fork tackle, I'm sorry, these are Lake Fork tackle, not live target. But what sucks with these is that is so thin in the middle. A lot of times the bass will hit it and it'll break off. So you go through them a lot, but they're great swim baits. And then this is the new Yum Pulse right there. It's got those ridges. I threw these this past weekend, and they're great swim bait trailer as well. And then, you know, jigs. Most of the time ponds are gonna have a muck bottom, so I don't throw too many jigs. You know, they have to set up on like a football jig where you're dragging it. If your pond has a lot of trees in it or whatever, you could flip. But for the most part, I'll stick with a swim jig right here. You know, once again, like I said, mimic what's in the water, and this would mimic like a warmouth or a bluegill, something like that. And to pair up with that, I put a swim bait trailer on there. You can put a craw trailer on there, but that's really it for jigs. I probably wouldn't even throw a regular jig in there. I'll just throw a swim jig if I wanted to that day. Let's see, crankbaits. Like I said, I'm not gonna throw a deep diving crankbait in a pond. I'm just not gonna do it. But I will throw a square bill. And I'm going to stick with really two types of colors. I'm going to stick with shad colors, like this right here. Or this was an awesome one for pond. This is a live target bait ball. This works great in ponds right here. So shad or you know, clear water, I'll throw this live target. You can throw a crawfish color square bill as well, and then you know, the Texas rig always works good too in a pond, and you know, I'll keep it pretty simple in terms. I ain't gonna get crazy, but I'll stick with craws. You know, Chrissy Critter, a rage craw, or my favorite thing to throw is a Power Team Lures craw derv for ponds. These are absolutely amazing. They're tiny little craw style bait. They work awesome in ponds. This right here is the natural color, so it's got like a green pumpkin gold flake right there with a orange belly. So those work fantastic in ponds. Also, a bait to throw is obviously a Senko. The #1 pond bait in the nation right here is a Senko. I'm not going to a pond if I don't have one, all right? But other than that, guys, that's really all I'm going to do in a pond. You know, keep it simple. You know, fit what you can fit in a backpack. 2 rods, no more than 4 though. And, you know, assess the pond before you just start throwing. Fish it in layers, and you know, you'll have a real successful time out on the water. I really think you will. So, as always, guys, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. If you don't like this video, give me a thumbs down, but explain why I don't like it. And this is always a learning process. Thank you so much for all the support you've given me so far. And yeah, until next time, guys, stay tuned. Tight lines.